Hey guys, this is the Sonic series. I'm talking about these Sonic games. You can hear me right. This one's on Unleashed, so let's do it.
Here we
Shut up! Sonic Unleashed. I have wanted to make a video on this game since I played it in October 2024. Now, after extensive time spent with this game and all others in the franchise, I figured it was the perfect time to finally go over it. After my playthrough on emulator, I actually took the time to play the game officially on an Xbox 360. Yeah, I just have a 360 now, and it's all because of this franchise. I mainly got it for a certain other game that'll eventually get its own video, but most of the recordings you're watching right now are from that Xbox 360 version of the game. Yes, I did deal with the lag, and no, it did not truly dampen my experience. It's kind of funny because, as I'm sure you're aware of at this point, Unleashed Recompiled exists. A straight-up, fan-made PC port of the entire game, with 60 FPS and higher support, higher resolutions, many quality of life updates, and so much more. I did consider re-recording footage for this video, but I already did record the entire game, so there's that. All future videos on this game will use the Unleashed Recompiled project, however. Anyhow, there is so much to dissect about this game, from the gameplay, to the story, to its cultural impact, and more, so strap yourselves in. This will be an extensive video going over as many significant details as I can muster, to make this the ultimate Marcor 255 Sonic Unleashed video. Let's begin, as usual, with As you probably know, Sonic Unleashed is split into two main gameplay styles. The daytime stages, where you blast through expansive locations from across the world at light speed, and the nighttime stages, where you battle gauntlets of enemies in a hack-and-slash styled gameplay loop starring a new form for Sonic. We will begin with the daytime stages for this video, then move over to the nighttime later on. This game began the boost formula for Sonic games, which would be used in all future games until Frontiers. So there's a lot this game had to do in order to make this formula interesting enough to be used as often as it does. I've previously gone over games with this style before, but as this was the first game with this style, I do feel as if it is necessary to go over the basic fundamentals once again, so we can understand how this game already kinda perfected them. You heard that right. This is my second favorite boost game, all thanks to how focused, challenging, and high octane this one gets. To begin with the fundamentals, why not begin with the tutorial stage, Windmill Isle Act 1. You begin with a nice jog down a hill, realizing that you are much faster than in previous games, even at your base running speed. Eventually, you press that delicious X button and boom! You're running around at the speed of sound. That speedometer reaches the max, and before you know it, you already reached the first loop. These beginning 10 seconds teach you that this game, especially in comparison to all previous games, is hellbent on prioritizing the feeling of going 100 miles in a school zone. A major jump then follows, showcasing that momentum will be at play here. After a simple homing attack tutorial, you reach some enemies who you'll probably be boosting through thanks to the rush you felt from it before. This teaches you that enemies prioritize your flow through the level more than previous games, as Heroes, Shadow 05, and 06 all gave the enemies health bars. After a test of your reaction skills with the use of the final quick-stepping section, the level ends with Sonic feeling accelerated and you feeling elevated. This level teaches you the basics on how to play the game whilst giving you a taste on how it feels to play. The feel of Sonic Unleashed is a major aspect of each level, which I'll get into when the time comes. Just know that this is a fantastic tutorial, giving you that high you will be reaching for the entire rest of the game. So what did we learn? Firstly, this game is really damn fun. The speeds you can reach in this game are pretty much unmatched across the entire series, and it is so damn liberating to go as fast as a character synonymous with the action. Secondly, maintaining that speed is key to the gameplay. I know it also was in previous games, but it's the most apparent here thanks to the fact that you have a go fast button. Thirdly, reacting to secrets and obstacles at those high speeds is key to survival, as you could potentially lose it or a life if you're not prepared. This in particular is what makes playing this game so unbelievably gratifying. As while yes, memorization does come naturally after playing these stages for as long as I have, but the reaction times take center stage here. I'm reacting to what I'm seeing and playing accordingly. The These 3 takeaways are what a first-time player will gather without even realizing it. And that's what truly makes this tutorial so good, and the game as a whole so satisfying. Windmill Isle Act 2 is a fantastic way to not only challenge the skills you learnt in the tutorial level, but also a way to show off the feel of the game even more than before. This level is pretty easy, not only to play through casually, but also to S rank. However, none of it gets boring or ever feels like you're not doing anything. It could be how varied the locations you're blasting through are, or maybe the sense of speed felt throughout the whole thing. I don't know. But even though a decent amount of this level is automated, the game never feels like it is. I don't want to bash Forces even more than I already have, but to use the game as an example, take a look at both of these sections from levels in both games. Both of these sections require the same amount of inputs, holding X, but the Unleashed one feels more involved, right? What really matters with these games is how they feel to play, and Windmill Isle Act 2 may not have the most involved gameplay, but it feels like so much more than it actually is, which is truly what matters. Even then, the stage is 3 minutes long and has many sections where you're required to react fast, find alternate paths, and navigate platforming segments. I absolutely adore this level, and I've never grown tired of replaying it. From here, you can kinda go about each stage in any order, so I may talk about levels in a different order from what you played. With that disclaimed, Savannah Citadel Act 1. This stage introduces drifting, and this requires some explanation. Drifting in this game gets a lot of flack because people simply don't know how to use it. I was in that camp of people at first who did not like how it functioned. However, just like real life, practice makes perfect. To drift in the best way in this game, turn the opposite direction to the way you're going, then begin the drift going the way you intend. If you do it right, you'll make it around the bend no problem. Also, you shouldn't ever boost whilst drifting unless you're certain you'll make the corner, it throws everything through a loop. I really appreciate how this game attempted to make the drift work like one does in the real world, whilst games like Generations make it super simple. I may prefer using the one in that game, but I do enjoy the one here. Anyways, the actual level is another really fun one. The game starts to throw its first few punches here, by making some of the platforming kinda challenging thanks to these spinning poles. After some practice, the timing for the best jump will become second nature, but even I still mess up here and there. Overall, whilst there are many cool moments of this level, like running along the sides of the buildings, drifting under the multicolored roof thingies, and that fantastic climb up the tree at the end, this might be my least favourite main stage in the game. I still love it, there's no bad stage at all here, but I can't help but feel as if this level is far less interesting compared to the others. Even though this stage was like the level that was shown off the most during the promotion of the game, it is most definitely the last stage that comes to mind when thinking about this game. Again, not a bad stage, just lost in the sea of all the other masterpieces. Dragon Road is a very all over the place stage. The beginning rush over the Great Walls of Chunnan is one of the best parts of the level, but there are these slower platforming bits that kinda drag the pace down. The water running is an absolute blast and never gets old, but there are these tiny walls that immediately destroy your speed and are very difficult to react to. This level is overall extremely fun and frantic with some incredible camera angles, thrilling set pieces, and many unique alternate paths that are super fun to traverse. However, there are these little moments here and there that kinda drag it down a few spots from the absolute best, and that's a damn shame. To end this level on a high note, however, let's just gush over it as it is so good. This camera angle is so good, the Chinese dragons look awesome, we're grinding on the top of the roof, this is awesome, the first intercept shades is a blast and easily communicated to you, and it all ends off with a serene jog to the finish line. Man, I didn't realize how awesome this level actually is until now, like, dude. It probably cracks the better half, which is not something I considered ever before. I love Dragon Road! We all know it, we all love it. Rooftop Run. The sheer amount of memorable set pieces stacked into this 5-minute level is something to behold. Every single moment spent in this level is packed with so much adrenaline, excitement, and fun. You're always doing something new at every turn. 1 second you're doing a tight drift, the next you're quick stepping in between alleyways, the next you're running on rooftops, blasting through enemies, peeking at the gorgeous environment, wall jumping in 2D. It's perfect. Here it is, everyone. We found the perfect boost level. Yeah, there may be a few slower sections that produce the adrenaline a bit, such as the easily cheesable free-falling section and the final minute-long Aero Chaser segment, but everything else before and in between is genuine perfection in my eyes. Granted, those slower sections do make this level not my favourite in the game, but a second place level is nothing to sneeze at. I haven't even mentioned the clock tower segment, man. I love that bit. Speeding around the clock itself is mesmerizing, and that grind back down is something only dreams are made of. Oh, and whilst that final arrow chaser segment can get a teensy bit boring after taking up that much of the level, it's still a blast to destroy as many as you can and rack up that score. And this little grind here feels like a gun, it's so satisfying, and don't even get me started on the alternate path! I should take a moment. So yeah, Rooftop Run is a genuine masterpiece of a level, and it truly needs to be played to be believed. Cool Edge is a special level for me, as I consider it to be the first level I played in this franchise that made me understand it. It really was the level that made me have my I get it now moment. I played this level the most back on my emulated playthrough, and whilst many other levels in this game do trump it by a decent margin, I still have an absolute blast here nonetheless. This level heavily focuses on scope, giving you ample time to just look around and enjoy the beautiful views. It's very similar to Windmill Isle in that regard then, as both levels blend automation with a sudden feeling. Windmill Isle gives you that sense of speed, but Cool Edge gives you that sense of wonder. This level also features these bobsled segments where you constantly move forward and have to tilt left and right. It's really fun despite the fact that it means this level is probably the most automated, which is its biggest weakness. If we get shots like this and moments like this, however, how can I really complain? Every time I play this level, I am reminded of how important it is to me. Because without it, I probably wouldn't be here talking about 20 individual Sonic games and actually making content for y'all. Despite it being in the lower half of levels in this game, I will forever cherish it for making me into the Sonic fan I am today. Skyscraper Scamper is another contender for the best level in the game. It just gets things so right. There are shortcuts aplenty which sometimes skip entire sections of the level, which always amazes me. The platforming segments are quick and snappy to speed through, and the rail grinding at the end is an absolute blast. I also feel like the atmosphere here is one of the best in the game. It truly feels like a rush to get to work in an overwhelming city. It definitely makes this time of day way more interesting than it actually is, which is exactly what I love about it. Honestly, there's not much to say about this level in comparison to the others in the game. It simply looks at what the previous levels did, and does it just as well. It's got the platforming of Dragon Road, the interceptor and arrow chases from Rooftop Run, a lengthy unique segment exclusive to it like Cool Edge, that being the rail grinding, really fun 2D segments like Savannah Citadel, and simple yet super effective speedy moments at the beginning, like Windmill Isle. This level is the first of 3 I consider to be in the hard category from this game. Basically, Windmill Isle, Cool Edge, and Savannah Citadel are the easy courses, Rooftop Run and Dragon Road are the intermediate levels, and Skyscraper Scamper and the last 2 are the hard stages. Overall, this level is an absolute blast, and I believe it was the first one I got an S rank on in this game, which is neat. Arid Sands is certainly an interesting level, to say the least. I see that the general consensus for this one is that it's the weakest in the game, and I just don't see that. I do think that some of the shortcuts could have been better told to you, as, I mean, how are you supposed to figure out this one on a first playthrough aside from sheer happenstance? However, this level requires some of the tightest movement and precision in the whole game, and I love it. Threading the needle in those quick stepping segments is one of the most fun things to do in this whole game, and the 2D segments are no slouch either. You'll likely find them really slow on a first run through, but there are always alternate paths or cycles you can reach to make them super smooth. I am obsessed with it. These last 2 levels I'm talking about also go about the environment in the best way to me, as you explore pretty much the entirety of the country seamlessly. You go from the busy marketplace to the ancient ruins to the giant canyons, and none of these locations feel out of place in the slightest. This level definitely feels like it has this thing a lot of Sonic games have every now and then. If you don't understand it, you probably won't have fun, but if you do, you'll have a blast. I know this could be applied to pretty much every game, but Sonic definitely feels like it requires you to understand it to enjoy it. In terms of this level, once you understand the shortcuts and the tight light speed dashes, it's an absolute blast to run through. Finally, we end off on a level with so much variety, so much thrill and insanity, that it's almost unbelievable. One casual run of this level takes around 10 minutes to finish, and an S rank will take around 4 to 5. Welcome to the stage, my favorite level in the game, and a contender for my favorite in the franchise, Jungle Joyride. Hey, you're watching the Unleashed recompiled version now. Why is that? Well, this is what the level looks like on official hardware. Yeah, it's super laggy, so it's the sexy version to experience peak. We start with one of the best quick stepping sections in the game. Something about this is so viscerally satisfying once you get it, and believe me, you will get it eventually because of how challenging the rest of the level is. What follows is one of the best 2D segments, with satisfying accelerator guns and many, many alternate paths to experiment with. Up next is either a slow platforming segment, or a challenging and quick rail grind, both followed by a short yet sweet aero chase. We then reach the first of 2 water running segments with many alternate paths and is a genuine challenge to complete. It's not just running straight forward. This is also where the original game chugs. Intercept a chase now, staying to the left is recommended for survival. Here's the second water run, this part here tends to ruin my runs a lot. Hit the button like it's cool edge, don't bother with the enemies, they'll ruin your day. Reaction pads, B, A, Y, no X. Hit the right springs to progress forward with no problems. A good cycle means you avoid the swing and X. Homing attack the dude off screen. Quick time the ramp with 2 sets of inputs. Remember the lightspeed dash and stick to the left to hit the ramp. Jump over the secret dip, slide under the rubble, go up with the accelerator gun, reach the rainbow ring, reach the other rainbow ring. X, A. The rest is simple. Welcome to the final major section with tight and speedy platforming that is a blast once you understand it. After this final homing attack and chain, you reach the end and oh my god, was that a joyride and a half! There is not a single moment of this level where I am not glued to my screen, completely enamored by what I'm playing. Even on a first playthrough, I was absolutely flabbergasted at how much this level is. It just goes on and on in the best possible way, as I never want it to end at all. Every single time I turn on this game, I always gravitate toward this level as one of the first I play, and paired with every other little detail about it, makes it my favourite stage in Sonic Unleashed. However, we are not done with the daytime just yet. Something many people neglect to mention about this game are the smaller sequel acts to each main one from each country. These are usually smaller than the main level and focus on something that the level barely touched on. For example, one of my favourites is Dragon Road Act 3. It is exclusively precise platforming with a cycle element to it, like those sections I wasn't a fan of in the main level. These sections slowed the pace of Act 1, which I didn't vibe with, but condensing it all into its own act just works great. Whilst I'm at it, here's a checklist of some of my other favourites. Am I the only one who has as much trouble with Rooftop Run Act 2 as I do? You go around this middle pillar 3 times with increasingly more challenging obstacles, but that successful attempt is super satisfying to reach. Jungle Joyride Act 3 focuses on the quick stepping from the beginning of the main act, and it is just as blissful as the main level to understand and execute. Finally, I gotta mention the worst act in the game, Savannah Citadel Act 2. Drift around these bridges 3 times, and because of the way the drift works, it's super difficult to understand. Once you get the drift though, it honestly becomes a decent challenge to time your drifts right, and it helps with the later drifting sections like in Skyscraper Scamper. That's right, the worst act in the game is only a 5 out of 10. There really are none I'd consider bad. They cooked so unbelievably hard with this game, man. It truly is unparalleled. And now we've covered everything I wanted to with the daytime. This game probably has the greatest selection of levels in the entire franchise. It is so unbelievably consistent, whereas in others there's always that one act that grinds your gears. I never leave a section of this game without at least a little smile on my face, and these day stages are the key reason why. However, these stages aren't the only gameplay style this game has to offer, is it? Once the sun sets, Sonic's Gaia energy wells up from inside him, and the Werehog comes out. And I think you can probably tell what my thoughts on it will be. Whilst the Werehog is definitely not as fun as the Hedgehog's gameplay, I've never had an experience with this style that I'd consider boring, even on my first playthrough. At the time of this game's release, the hack and slash style genre was seemingly all the rage, so the Werehog follows a similar gameplay style to that very genre. You are significantly slower than your Hedgehog counterpart, precise platforming takes a larger focus, and of course, the giant assortment of combat abilities. Leveling up your character also takes a larger focus here, as you use it to gain new combat abilities, gain more HP, and more. You can level up the Hedgehog form, but I'd argue it's more for quality of life upgrades, like increasing your boost gauge. Without leveling up the Werehog, you're not gonna have fun here. I personally recommend you focus on combo towards the beginning, then start leveling up the other stats when you feel like it's necessary. Only level up shield if you actually use it though, as I barely ever remember to use it, and I'm always attacking nonetheless, so yeah. Enough about the basic mechanics, however. Is it actually fun? Well, let's take the same order as the daytime, starting with Windmill Isle. This is a pretty solid tutorial level, getting you used to the way the Werehog moves, the beginning combos, and exploration. There are many places where you have to explore around to find the way forward, and it's a decent time. This area with the green and red gems sticks in my mind, as on a second playthrough, you've got the locations memorized, so it's a lot faster. My favourite parts of pretty much every Werehog level, however, are the platforming sections. They genuinely feel so good, and I never grow tired of them. This part here with the poles is definitely the highlight of the level for me. I always love reaching it and speeding through using the mechanics. At this point in the game, you don't have any crazy combos to try out, so there's not much to say about the combat aside from it's pretty fun, and the visual of Sonic destroying everything with his stretchy limbs always charms me. One thing to get used to with these levels, however, is that they are long. First playthrough of this level took around 14 minutes, longer than the longest stage in the daytime. It sort of balances out by being far less replayable and having less bonus acts overall, but I can see why some people would take issue with this. Overall, I really like this first stage, and it serves as a great introduction to this gameplay style going forward. Savannah Citadel is next, and it goes much harder on the puzzle elements, which I'm a little mixed on. The solutions I use for some of these are a little obtuse, to the point where I think it's very likely that I'm doing it wrong. I would be lying if I said that pulling the levers to move these platforms didn't get old after a little while. It's not the worst of these puzzle elements, wait for a future level for that, but at least the platform and combat are definitely more interesting than Windmill Isle. This section here is an absolute blast. Trying to reach the pillar in the middle whilst timing your grabs on these dark Gaia enemies as they become electric for a bit is so fun. You start to get the more interesting combos here too, so the good stuff is overall better, but the bad stuff is overall worse, making this stage probably in the lower half of the nighttime stages. The final combat section's great though. Dragon Road focuses more on the platforming than both previous stages combined, so you can probably tell how much I like it. Launching off of these poles to reach faraway locations is so good, and this section with the two alternate paths leading to better or worse rewards is genius. The camera angles do make this section in particular way more difficult than it should be, however, when in other levels I appreciate the changing camera angles for the added challenge. There's so much to do in this level on a first playthrough that you barely scratch, so replays of this one are recommended far more than the others, and that's great to me. I also want to give credit to how the atmosphere of a level theme changes simply thanks to the change in the time of day. Daytime Dragon Road is exciting, frantic, and colourful, whilst nighttime Dragon Road is more mellowed out and atmospheric. The music also adds so much to the atmosphere here, but I'll go more into that later as usual. Overall, this is definitely one of the best nighttime acts in the game, and I really should replay it more, shouldn't I? Speaking of the best nighttime levels, Rooftop Run continues its streak of being the best of the best, as this one's another blast. It almost feels like 3 levels in one, with one major section in the town, moving over to the winery, and then ending at the clock tower, and it's so good! It feels like every part of this level was meticulously thought out, placing every enemy ambush, every puzzle, every platforming bit in just the right places. There's also a ton of secrets in the houses themselves you can find, so break down every door you can see. Going through the level is great, as I'm sure you can tell from all of my compliments, but nothing compares to the indoor clock tower segment. This is my favourite Werehog section in the game, period. Completing this giant climb up to the very top of the clock tower in one fell swoop is one of the most satisfying things in this entire game, I swear to God. There's a sense of flow to this section that's not really replicated by any other, and reaching the top and being dwarfed by that giant clock is just chef's kiss. Oh, I also love the creativity of needing to physically move the clock's hands to progress. It's just, I love this level. You know what, I'm just gonna say it. This is my favourite Werehog level in the game. It is by far the most memorable, the most fun, and the best example of what the Werehog's gameplay truly can be. And the streak doesn't stop there, as Cool Edge is another great one too. Can we get more ice levels like this in Sonic games, Sonic Team? Please. I'd say this level is a blend of puzzle and platforming, and it works fantastically. For example, towards the beginning of the level, you gotta platform up this area to reach this blue gem, then backtrack down to the pedestal, only then to platform back up to progress. This may sound a little tedious, but I don't know, I find it quite a fun little platforming puzzling thing. Plus, there are more interesting ones later on anyway, so who cares. My favourite section of this level has got to be when the slides are introduced, however, as you can get a surprising amount of momentum from them. Wait, this section serves as a great set piece though, so maybe it's this part? But then again, this part with the poles is also super fun. Wait, it's gotta be this huge area that combines everything together into one masterclass of platforming and combat. Here's the one. If you couldn't tell from that, this level's also extremely very good, as no mechanic is wasted, and no boring moments are found. Skyscraper Scamper, like the daytime variant, is a combination of all the great things from previous levels crammed into one. Great platforming, great combat, and great puzzles. Now I guess there's a greater focus on type ropes in this level, which I do love, but I don't think it's interesting enough to make it super stand out amongst the others. There is a giant pet peeve I have with this level, and that is that these giant enemies have an attack that launch you away from them, and it could force you off of the edge of the building, which is always insanely annoying. It's at the end of this level too, so say goodbye to your S rank if you're going for them. What's worse is that you can get stun locked by this as well, so there is no option but to accept your fate. In a later level, there's 2 of these in the same room you have to defeat, and I literally got logged by the same moves over and over again for around an entire minute. That's not in this level, I'll pick that bone when the time comes. So just know that Skyscraper Scamper is great, despite it not really expanding much from what came before. Alright, I defended Arid Sands daytime pretty well in my opinion, but unfortunately I can't really give that luxury to the nighttime stage. It is annoying. Firstly, the main enemy is this fire wizard that can only be attacked when you throw a water barrel at it. More often than not, these are quite infuriating, especially when paired with other enemies, as they can be annoying when not dealt with. If you get hit with the fire, you take constant damage that takes you out of your combos, and it never goes out until you cover yourself with water. Again, this is just annoying and nothing more. Secondly, there's not really any platforming in this level. You're either dealing with the annoying fire wizards or helplessly looking for a gem placed in the most obscure place possible. On both my emulated and official playthroughs, I spent a good while trying to find the gems to this door, and I didn't even feel satisfied once I did. The level also feels smaller in scope thanks to the areas being so closed off, and the combat environments are less memorable and more annoying than the others. This level feels rushed, I'm just gonna say it. Not a single other thing about this game does not reach its potential quite like this level. Imagine a set piece where you're platforming directly above the giant canyon seen in the daytime stage, or you go into one of the ancient ruins and it's dark so you use the fire to light the way or something. I genuinely came up with those on the spot and they are far more interesting than find the gem somewhere, I don't know, and you're on fire, bitch. I won't say I dislike this level, but that doesn't mean I'm not thinking it. I'm always surprised at how short Jungle Joyride Night is. You'd think as the last nighttime stage they'd make it the longest and have lots of challenges and truly test your skills as a Werehog, but not really. I mean, there's nothing I actively dislike here, but there's also nothing I absolutely love. I quite enjoy the platforming around the waterfalls as you've gotta time your jumps to be when they're not falling. I quite like this puzzle where you gotta press the buttons in correlation to the stages of the flower's growth. Wait, the stage is over? Yeah, this stage is one of the shortest nighttime stages in the game, taking me even less time than Windmill Isle, the tutorial one. I won't lie and say that this level also feels kinda rushed, similar to Arid Sands, but at least this stage has a second act to it. I won't be going over the bonus acts for the Werehog as I simply don't have any major thoughts aside from they're pretty good, but Jungle Joyride's second act feels like it should be part of the first. It actually does some unique things, like raising and lowering platforms into the water, a much more challenging and fun button puzzle than what came before, and a pretty good platforming bit with the flying Dark Gaia enemies. I won't say I like Act 2 more than Act 1 however, as the combat sections do drag on far more than other areas. In other areas, all the enemies are spawned the moment you enter, but here, there's many waves of enemies at each section, so I can't lie and say that this is kind of a killjoy for the level. If they toned down the combat sections a lot and combined this act with Act 1, I probably would be much fonder of this level than I am now. And that was the Werehog. Overall, this is definitely one of my favourite alternate gameplay styles we've seen in a Sonic game. You could really tell the effort put into it just from looking at the finishing blow animations. Look at this, isn't it so charming and cool? Honestly though, I don't really ever see myself coming back to it unless I need to. Why play this really fun style when I could play something infinitely more fun to me? I'm not trying to say that there's no worth to this style's existence, I'm just saying that I prefer to replay the daytime stages. You know, maybe it's because of this. I've neglected to mention the Werehog battle theme throughout this whole section, because I just wanted to focus on the levels themselves, but here it is. I think it's hilarious. Every time an enemy notices you or you touch an enemy in any way, the battle theme begins with dramatic and intense jazz, completely shattering the atmosphere, and it's just so funny. Now, I'm not saying that I prefer this over it not playing at all, thank god for Unleashed Recon Part giving it a toggle, but there's just something so humorous about this goofy song playing every time you enter the vicinity of an enemy, man. I really don't know why Secret Rings playing 7 rings in hand all the time is annoying, but this isn't to me. But that's just how I roll. Deal with it. We're not nearly done with this game, however, as we've got a hefty helping of bonus content to talk about. So let's begin. We've talked a lot about the levels themselves, but how do you actually get to them? Well, this game features multiple separate hub worlds for each country you explore. This game's all about travelling the world, so each area is themed around a certain real-life country. Apotos is Greece, Spagonia is Italy, Chang'an is China, and there are more. I absolutely adore this style of world building. It adds character to each location that wasn't there for others before in the franchise. The human character designs are also probably some of my favourite the series has seen. Instead of the more realistic proportions you see in games like Adventure 2 and 06, the humans are much more stylized, almost like a Pixar character. Whilst I do love the way Adventure 2 and Shadow 05 does it, I think this game's human designs were a natural step forward for the franchise, even if they never did it again. Maria from Shadow Generations is probably my favourite human design that isn't one of the Eggmen though. One thing you unlock early on is a camera, which allows you to take pictures of people at night who may be acting a bit strange. This allows you to perform an exorcism, where you beat up a bunch of dark Gaia creatures and the person returns to their normal personality. I quite like these, and honestly, this is where the Werehog battle theme should have exclusively been. It just works, you know? Each location has a completely unique vibe to them, and I love exploring, interacting with the people, learning about their culture, and buying souvenirs. These souvenirs can be brought over to Professor Pickle, one of your main companions throughout the game, and I love him. He's such a silly guy obsessed with his cucumber sandwiches. He's also where you get info on what to do, how to play the game, more lore tidbits on Dark Gaia, and other stuff like watching the cutscenes. Speaking of cutscenes, this game is probably the most visually appealing Sonic game to date. The resolution doesn't fully show off the quality of the visuals, but man, the lighting is top notch, no texture is out of place, the effects like the blur when you boost and the Werehog's fur look fantastic. They truly went all out with this game. I'm always amazed at the fact that this game came out in 2008, 2 years after I was born. Not only that, but the animation is also far better than many of the games that came out after, thanks to the use of mocap. Sonic moves super realistically as opposed to the more rigid animation seen in Generations and Colors, and the Werehog's stretchy limbs are a marvel on the eyes. I can't get enough of how this game looks, and I am begging for Sonic Team to make a game this good looking again. Make Frontiers 2 more stylized or something, anything that isn't this Sonic model again. One thing I can't forget, however, is the CGI cutscenes. You've probably seen countless people gush over this game's opening 6-minute long cutscene, and it's time to add another to the table. This thing is literally perfect. It shows Sonic's cockiness during battle, how flashy his movements are, the rivalry between Sonic and Eggman is on display perfectly, Super Sonic destroying everything in a flash is so cool, Eggman taking the upper hand in the latter half is an incredible setup, the mirroring of Sonic and Dark Gaia's movements is genius, you can see the individual knits on Eggman's gloves, the wrinkles on his head, the Werehog reveal is amazing! This is kind of one of the best openings ever conceived by man. I made an AMV of it for a reason. Something you may not know, however, is that there are these secret cutscenes you can unlock showing Sonic and Chip being goofy in 3 of the areas of the game. They're all so charming and add so much character to these characters. There was even a 10-minute short released separate to the game called Night of the Werehog, and it looks just as good as everything else. Look at this animation and try to tell me it's not awesome. You can't. All this is to say that the atmosphere and passion oozing out of Sonic Unleashed is absolutely everywhere, and that is one of the key reasons as to why I love it so much. Seeing something that people genuinely put so much effort into being as good as it is just so liberating, and this is a topic I'll come back to in a later video. Before we touch on the story, however, there is an aspect of this game that to this day, I pretty much always see negativity thrown towards, and I've put it off for long enough, so it's time to talk about... So in this game, the stages are locked behind you collecting a certain amount of medals, sort of like how Mario 64 locks you out of areas until you collect a certain amount of power stars. There are 2 types, Sun and Moon medals, and they each unlock the stages of their respective time of day. Your average day stage houses around 7 Moon and 3 Sun, whilst your average night stage has around 10 Sun and 6 Moon. These amounts may vary slightly depending on the stage, and there are naturally far less in the much shorter bonus act, but people take issue with this because you are forced to replay stages in order to collect these arbitrary collectibles. I won't deny that this system is a bit strange, and that the later games letting you blast through without worrying about collectibles is a good thing, but here's the thing. What is the main draw with Sonic? Replayability. What's another draw with Sonic? Exploration. Not only are most medals out in alternate paths in the day stages, but replaying those day stages for better times will naturally lead you to finding more. Some medals do require you to stop what you're doing, take a short detour, grab the medal and move on, but is one single run where you do that all that bad? Once you get it, you never need to collect it again, so I genuinely do not see the problem here. Oh, but you'll still be locked out of the final few stages as their medal counts are super high. Well, what if I told you I've never had this problem? I genuinely do not ever remember getting locked out of a level, getting upset, and replaying stages I did not want to replay just to snag some medals. All I ever did was replay stages because they were fun throughout my playthrough, and I naturally got the required amount. Plus, you can give Professor Pickle some souvenirs for a few of each type if you're really close to the required amount. In terms of the nighttime stages, if you take your time and explore every nook and cranny of the levels, you'll probably find most, if not all, of the medals, and still pull off an S rank if you didn't die. For example, on my playthrough of Cool Edge Night Act 1, I managed to get all but one Sun medal, every Moon medal, tons of videotapes and art books, and an S rank, all within 22 minutes. I never felt like I was spending too long here either, I just played naturally and did all of this. Every time somebody brings up the medal problem in this game, I genuinely just do not understand it, as there's more than enough throughout the game to make it a non-issue. Just keep replaying the day stages, take your time in the nighttime stages, and there you go. Make sure to explore all the hub worlds as well, there's a good amount scattered around. Wait, why is this section not finished? Is there something I missed? Well, as it turns out, there is. The true final aspect of the game I've neglected to mention before the story, the hot dog missions. I have no defense towards these. This really is just a bad execution of an idea all around. In every country, there is a hot dog vendor you can talk to who gives you a list of 3 missions to complete, each with 3 difficulty levels. For the day, it's usually a time limit mission, collecting rings mission, and defeating enemies mission. For the night, there's only a time limit one, and one where you can't heal and have a very limited health bar. These would be fine if 1, you could select the hardest difficulty right out of the gate, and 2, the mission would end once you reach the amount specified on the rings and enemies ones. You have to beat Windmill Isle at least 10 times, once in the normal version, and 9 more times thanks to the hot dog dude. And if you die at any point, it's back to the beginning for you. All you get for doing these are achievements and XP food anyways, so I really wouldn't recommend you go out of your way to do these unless you really want to get all the achievements. That's it, however. We've talked about all the miscellaneous stuff. It's time to touch on the story, and this game absolutely cooked.
Chip? Gotta call you something, don't I? What do you think? Yeah, Chip! Chip! I love it! Yum!
To be perfectly honest with you, the premise of the story of this game is nothing super special. To summarize, Eggman is looking to take control of Dark Gaia, a god sealed within the core of the Earth, so he can finally create Eggmanland. To do this, he tricks Sonic to bring him the Chaos Emerald so he can power this interesting looking ship to blast the Earth into separate pieces. It's up to Sonic and this new character Chip to travel the world, restoring the Chaos Emerald's power to bring the planet back to normal. Even though the characters' motives are pretty much the same as usual, I mean, Eggman was talking about Robotnik Land back in Adventure 1, the way this game goes about those similar premises is what makes it truly memorable and special. Eggman shot the Earth, something he actively stopped in Adventure 2, breaking it into multiple separate pieces just so he can make a cool theme park. Genuine, perfect characterization right there. What truly elevates this game's story to be an all-time great, however, is the relationship between Sonic and Chip. It's a similar situation to Secret Rings in that regard, but it's naturally so much more investing because you're not screaming at the gameplay. From the beginning, Chip meets Sonic in his Werehog form, and is scared shitless from it. After he realizes Sonic isn't a bad guy, he eventually asks for his name, and then realizes that he doesn't know his own name. Eventually, Sonic decides to help the little guy out, because he's just that nice. At first, I can see a crowd of people not really liking Chip because of his polarizing voice and insistence on food, but it's definitely something that grows on you the more time you spend with him. Take this scene soon after the two meet. In the middle of a conversation between the two, Chip immediately gets distracted by a nearby ice cream stand, and this mildly irritates Sonic. This is actually the reason why Chip is named Chip, as Sonic connects the little dude with the chocolate chip ice cream. On a first playthrough, I can see people being a little annoyed by this, but after seeing what the two get up to in all the shorts and all the later cutscenes, this becomes a cute little moment I live for. Chip in general has all of these adorable little mannerisms, like when he fucking dies after realizing that Professor Pickle might be really hungry when he's kidnapped, or just the little confident punching before each Werehog boss battle. Chip is such a fun character, and we'll get more into it later. For now, let's talk about the much less important characters that make an appearance. Tails is in this game, and he's pretty decent. He doesn't really play any major role in the story, he just uses his tornado to bring Sonic to the various continents due to, this. I never hate my time with him though, it's always a treat to interact with our favourite genius fox. I know I already talked about Professor Pickle, but come on man, he's just that awesome. His banter with all the other characters in his introductory scene is so peak, man. The moment I saw him, I knew he was my spirit animal. Just a fantastic character all around. Amy's in this game too, and she's absolutely adorable here. She's got her usual obsession with Sonic's side, but the way Sonic reacts with her antics is so good. Once she runs away from the Werehog thinking it's someone else, Sonic gets sad. Chip's attempts at cheering him up don't really help things either. Isn't that so much more interesting than what Heroes and all the other games did back then? CD gets a free pass for being the first to do it though. Look at this, she's still spinning after the dude stops and passes out. That's just so charming, right? After the exorcism tutorial, Sonic saves Amy as the Werehog and runs away because of what happened before, and that's just such a real reaction to something like this. I love it. There's also one interaction you can have with Amy just before the finale, where she asks Sonic to go out with her after the world's fully back together. If you say yes, she's shocked and becomes flustered. It's such a cute interaction, which truly cements this game as one of Amy's best appearances to me. In terms of Eggman, his best moments in this game are definitely in that opening cutscene and during the finale. Everything in between, he's treated much more as a joke, which I'm a little mixed on. On one hand, I love moments like this where he's defending his discardment on the Chaos Emeralds and just goes, huh? It's such a funny little moment. On the other hand, however, this does make him seem a lot less menacing than in previous games. Eggman still had his goofy moments in Adventure 2, but the characters always treated him like a genuine threat who could take over the world if they didn't step in. Heck, even 06, whose story I'll focus on another time, don't worry, treated him like a genuine threat who was steps ahead of our protagonists. I do think he himself is much less interesting in that game compared to this one, but Eggman in Unleashed attempts a balancing act of menacing yet goofy, and doesn't really pull it off. Overall though, I sorta don't care. I like both separately, so I guess my mind treats them as separate even though they are the same character. I don't really know, but I still love Eggman here no matter what. Oh yeah, this is the first game with Orbot. Cubot was introduced in Colors, and that's truly when the world went dark. Orbot on his own here is quite good, not gonna lie. He bounces off of Eggman's egotistical remarks really well, and I wish it was just him, honestly. The world really would have been better off without that six-sided arsehole. And that's all the significant characters. There are a few other characters who play minor roles, but they ultimately don't add too much to the conversation. What will add a ton to the conversation, however, is what happens towards the end of the game. Sonic and Chip have grown closer and closer as genuine friends, and they've just reached the second to last Gaia Temple, the place to restore the Chaos Emerald's power. However, Chip has this weird feeling going here. He tries to play it off, but once we enter the temple, this mural is shown with some strange hands coming from this dark Gaia-looking entity, and a familiar shape towards the top. Chip goes to examine it, when out of nowhere, he starts getting sucked into another plane, where he finally gains back his memories. He remembers everything now, and it's time for him to explain it all to Sonic. Welcome to the best scene in the game, and one of the best in the franchise. As Sonic and Chip look towards the setting sun, Chip explains that he is Light Gaia, and his job is to protect the planet from Dark Gaia's rebirth. Once Eggman broke the world apart, he prematurely awakened both Light and Dark Gaia, leading to the existence of all the Gaia enemies and Chip's amnesia. This cycle of Dark Gaia attempting to destroy the Earth, and Light Gaia stopping him from doing so, has been going on for millions of years, since the beginning of time itself. Suddenly, Sonic goes Werehog, and thinks that Chip is the reason why he stays the exact same personality-wise at night. However, Chip retorts by saying that Sonic himself is the reason why he doesn't go feral, His drive to do what he thinks is best is what keeps him from going full moon. And man, that's just so compelling and emotional. Eventually, Chip looks back on his journey fondly and says goodbye to Sonic. Confused, however, Sonic grabs him back, asking where he's going. Chip then states that the Dark Gaia situation is his responsibility now, so Sonic doesn't need to do anything anymore. To which Sonic replies with,
"Do I need a reason to want to help out a friend?"
Chills and watery eyes every time. Sonic's helping Chip just because he wants to. Chip stated before that his drive to do what he wants is keeping him sane in the Werehog form, so what's stopping him from continuing? From the very beginning, Sonic hasn't needed to do anything he's done, and now, even when Chip has gained back his memories and is capable of putting the world back together himself, Sonic can't just sit there and twiddle his thumbs. He is going to help out, not because of any responsibility himself, just because he can. And that right there is what makes this scene one of the best this franchise has given us. Time to take back the world. I've kept a little secret from you all. You know what that is? There is one final, giant level I haven't talked about, which averages around 40 to 60 minutes to complete a single run. My S rank on Recompiled took 19 minutes, so let's talk Eggmanland. Wait, the tornado minigames. Fine, I'll mention them. There's these QTE missions where you're flying on Tails' tornado and you press the buttons that appear on the screen, and these are honestly pretty boring. But there's only 2, so they're not a complete downer. Anyways, Eggmanland. He did it. He did it. He did it. He actually made the theme park he set out to back in Adventure 1. This is where Eggman becomes more menacing too, so everything's coming up roses, right? Well, let me break this level down for you. In Eggmanland, you begin as the Hedgehog form, but then must switch to the Werehog after around 2 minutes of the level. You then back and forth between the two forms throughout the entire level, ending as the Werehog. On a first playthrough, I don't think this level will be fun for you. It's mainly because of its sheer length, honestly. Needing to play 40 straight minutes of Unleashed can get to a motherfucker, man. There's also this one section where enemies infinitely respawn, and you need to flip a switch to progress, but because I'm the resident idiot, I didn't realize this for a very long time. I thought this was an enemy gauntlet with no chance to heal for some reason. I even quit the level on my official hardware playthrough to level up some more, only to realize I was a dumbass. For this level, you gotta accept early on that it will not be nice to you. Not only is it by far the longest stage in the game, it also has multiple diabolical mechanics, like these Eggman platforms that insta-kill you if you're in front of them, and a really tough bobsled, but the bobsled is a roller coaster platform thingy section directly after. Your first playthrough will feel like a gauntlet, as it is supposed to as a final level. After beating it the first time, however, you will be better at it. More than any other stage, this one requires you to focus and react as patiently as possible, and it is so liberating getting to the end and seeing that delicious silver letter. This level is absolutely fantastic to me, even if it is not my absolute favourite because of its lack of replayability, because, you know, it's at least in the top 5, which is far more than what most other levels can say in this franchise. Anyways, after Eggmanland, the man himself shows his ugly mug and is ready to kill. Dark Gaia is fully restored, and Eggman has a brand new mech named the Egg Dragoon, ready for bloodshed. I haven't touched on the boss fights in this game, mainly because I haven't got much to say about them. They're pretty solid, and that's that. The Egg Dragoon, however, now this is a genuinely fantastic fight. The goal is to hit the green lights on the lower half of the mech, and you can do this at any time. You deal more damage if it's a counter-attack, but you can deal chip damage in between when he's winding up other attacks, for instance. The spectacle is unlike anything else seen in this franchise too. The crazy animation during the QTEs, the constant breaking apart of the environment, the relentless dialogue from Eggman, and the reveal of the core of the Earth.
Wing units deploy!
This moment here gives me endless goosebumps, man. It is such an incredible reveal that thankfully isn't bogged down by presentation. This is one of my favourite fights in the franchise, as it's full of action, intensity, and truly feels like a final stand from both parties. See you in the sky, Eggman. We've got a god to take care of. Once the Egg Dragoon is dealt with, Dark Gaia finally shows its completed form in a CGI cutscene, and it looks insane. It immediately gets rid of Eggman and starts to attack Sonic. However, it seems to tap into Sonic's Dark Gaia energy, and reverts him back to his Hedgehog state, weakening him a lot.
Sonic!
Chip! Run, Chip!
This moment kinda terrifies me, not gonna lie. Sonic the Hedgehog, the man who has dealt with giant mechs and time-warping entities, tells Chip to run away. Sonic himself is terrified, and genuinely thinks there is no hope here. However, Chip, with his newly regained memories, begins to reveal what Light Gaia can truly do. Each of the 7 Gaia temples rise from where they are, and travel to the core of the Earth, where they all combine to create the Gaia Colossus. Yeah, this game's actually kinda mid though. This begins the Dark Gaia fight, where you have to narrowly avoid the meteors that Dark Gaia throws at you, blocking the giant laser attack, I'm not so sure about that one though, and eventually beating them up with QTEs, leading to a platforming section with Sonic. Whilst the Gaia Colossus segments are really cool visually, I would be lying if I said the gameplay held up with it. It's just kind of awkward honestly, and again, what are you supposed to do with the laser attack? The Sonic sections are where it's at though. You're given a time limit to platform across these sections and it is not easy. It'll take a decent few attempts to do, but it's worth it to destroy the giant eyeballs on Dark Gaia. You do this 3 times, each getting more difficult. Overall, I can't bring myself to say I don't like it because, I mean, look at this. But the Gaia Colossus segments do bring this part down a lot, which is a genuine shame. After enough trial and error though, you take it down. But it's only just begun. Dark Gaia releases a giant cloud covering the skies everywhere. Even Professor Pickle believes there is no hope after this, thanks to what the Gaia Manuscripts foretold. But Amy believes that Sonic won't let this happen. And so, in one more CGI cutscene, Dark Gaia becomes all gross and shit, revealing its true, final, ultimate form for real this time. With this, the Chaos Emeralds leave the Gaia Colossus and enter Sonic, leading to Super Sonic vs. Perfect Dark Gaia. Even if the gameplay can get a teensy bit annoying here, how can I hate this when it shows the friendship of Sonic and Chip perfectly, the music is empowering and exciting, and the set piece is immaculate? After gathering rings on your way over to the shield, you must destroy the individual heads of Dark Gaia's tentacles that arise every now and then. And it is bliss. There is one final gauntlet of QTEs to release the Gaia Colossus from Dark Gaia's grasp, and there's even a 60-button one which is terrifying. And then... Dark Gaia falls, the darkness in the sky fades away, and the world is truly saved. Sonic loses his super form, however, and gets caught by Chip. With the last of Light Gaia's power, Chip manages to throw him out of the core, and Light Gaia rests, for the next time Dark Gaia inevitably rises. Sonic lands just where he did at the beginning of the game, but someone's missing. All that's left is a wristband left by Chip.
I'll never forget you. I'll be here by you, always. A part of the earth you tread.
Thus ending Sonic Unleashed. You see what I mean when I say that this game has a basic yet S-tier story? It takes these basic ideas this franchise and others have established as tropes, and cranks them to the extreme, whilst characterizing everyone who appears amazingly. There is not a single scene in this game that is at the very least not entertaining, and the genuine love and care put into all of it is nothing short of astonishing. We don't get games like this one often anymore, where everything has the maximum effort put into it and none of it feels off or wrongly placed. However, there is still one more aspect of the game I've neglected to mention purely due to consistency with all the other episodes, and that is of course, the top tier soundtrack.
We've all got a star.
On top of all of the content I've already mentioned, Sonic Team thankfully went all out on the music, like they always do, and man, this is a top 5 Sonic soundtrack, folks. From the incredibly atmospheric hub world themes to the exciting day stage themes, down to the mellow night stage themes, everything comes together to create an otherworldly soundtrack gamers will enjoy for many, many years to come. As per usual, here's a selection of my favourites. Apotos Day is a perfect song to introduce you to the world of Sonic Unleashed, not shoving your synapses with excitement, but making you feel relaxed and chill, ready for what's to come. Holoska Night is a relaxing, icy wonderland. It's unlike any other ice theme I've heard. Shamar Day is an absolute banger, making the environment feel mysterious, yet a little overwhelming. Empire City Night is a much calmer version of the daytime theme, but that doesn't mean it removes the atmosphere. In fact, I prefer the atmosphere of this song more, as it almost gives me detective vibes at certain points. Windmill Isle Day is a song I've heard in many YouTube videos, and for good reason. It just pumps me up and makes me dance till it's over. Cool Edge Day is underrated as balls, man. I barely ever hear people talk about it. It feels like you're hanging with your best buds, having a giant snowball fight without a care in the world. Rooftop Run Day is Rooftop Run Day, what else can I add? It's one of the most joyous, full of life songs I've heard in this franchise, and is a must add to your playlists. I really love Arid Sands Day. There's something so mind-controlling about the main beat which I just can't help but sing to. Jungle Joyride Day is super intimidating, yet empowering at the same time. It truly feels like a final level, testing your skills and experiences amazingly. Windmill Isle Night feels like a more mellow, atmospheric version of the day stage. This and a few others almost give me vibes of sneaking through the night, unseen by all. Rooftop Run Night has such a unique vibe. It weirdly doesn't sound like the day version at all, when the other night themes have at least a motif from the day stage. Dragon Road Night is just so good. It's more intense than other night themes, and almost gives me ninja vibes even if it's the wrong country. Ah well, I still love it. Skyscraper Scamper Night really feels like the title of the stage, scampering over skyscrapers. It feels like if you're caught, you're fucked. Have a listen. Between the two Eggmanland themes, I've always gravitated towards the night version for whatever reason. I guess it's more dramatic and focuses on the oppressive atmosphere, which might be why I prefer it. Vs. Egg Dragoon is one of the most intense, visceral boss themes in this franchise. It almost feels like this is the last battle between Sonic and Eggman. It's so effective. Supersonic vs. Perfect Dark Gaia is a monumental version of the game's main vocal theme, empowering you up to the same level as Sonic. Nothing reaches the hype of this song, man. It's fantastic. Finally, of course, is that main vocal theme previously mentioned, Endless Possibility. This is easily a top 5 Sonic song, no contest. Again, there's a reason I made an AMV of this. And that is all. The variation of relaxing tunes I could and do sleep to the dramatic and intense boss themes that make those very bosses, to the atmospheric themes which allows me to make stories in my head on the spot, to the hype as hell songs that empower me to a level never seen. It's just perfection. This is exactly what I want out of a video game soundtrack, and it's not even my favorite in the franchise. This is why the Sonic franchise in general has my favorite music of any video game franchise, period. I feel like this game in particular was the perfect one to reveal this because I think this is probably the most consistent soundtrack, but it's not my favorite. Anyone and everyone can enjoy the music from this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if you already have, thanks to the various YouTubers using it in their videos. That is everything I've wanted to mention, so it's finally time to end this. Sonic Unleashed is such a special game, not just to me, but for so many others. It feels like the last game in the franchise that wasn't hit with any major problems that naturally dampen the experience. I truly believe that everyone who spent their time making something for this game is proud of what they created, and look back at their time here fondly. I haven't even mentioned details like the hilarious Rank E results screen that makes you feel terrible, or the DLC. Oh, wait, the DLC? I haven't actually played it yet. There was only one Unleashed Recompiled released when I finally gained access to the DLC, so you know what? I'm gonna stream it. Look out for a stream or two in the near future of me playing the DLC, not sure when it'll happen, but it will, I promise. For now, however, Sonic Unleashed is so good to the point where I am debating with myself as to whether or not I should add it to my 25 favorite video games list. I'm not joking, it's seriously that good. See you in the next one, which, unfortunately, will not be as positive as this one. Goodbye.